Welcome to DevOps Accents, a podcast on everything around DevOps, public cloud, and cloud-native topics, with your hosts, Pablo, Leo, and Kirill.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of DevOps Accents. I'm back, and we are the co-host of DevOps Accent podcast, Kirill, Pablo, and I, Leo. Welcome, guys.
Hello. This is the number 18, no? If I remember correctly, no?
Yeah, that's the 18th.
How are you, Leo? Are you back to health?
Yeah, I'm fine, much better. Thank you for covering my back last time. I listened to the episode. It was a great episode. You did great without me, even though you think it's not. Everything was flawless.
We covered your back very well. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anyway, just a reminder, we are the co-founders of MK Dev. We get together once in a while to discuss everything around DevOps and all things around cloud-native technologies and whatnot. And we think that this might be helpful for you. And if you would like to learn even more than we discuss during this episode, you should be subscribed to our MKDev Dispatch newsletter, where we share all things that happens in MKDev, all the new videos, the article that we publish, and also share the news with our thoughts on top of that. Feel free to subscribe and use the link in the description. Anyway, that was kind of weak. I mean, it's started with some news. I mean, not started, ended with some news from Hashicorp that dropped a bomb on the DevOps community, and it created a fuss not only on Twitter and other discussions around it. Even our chat kind of exploded compared to other times when we discussed other things. Everyone discussed what Hashicorp did. I think that this is something worth discussing with you. And for those of you who are not aware of what's going on, or maybe would like a little bit of information, so Hashicorp has changed some of the rules. And so from my perspective, right, since I'm not a very tech-savvy person, it's got me scratching my head. They're saying that, in short, regular folks can use our stuff for free, but businesses have to follow new rules. And those new rules are the new licensing model. They're moving from the old model to the new model, and they're trying to basically make more money from my perspective. But they still want to be good guys for regular users. Well, they're trying to be, I don't know, I feel like they're trying to be a business-only club, but I'm not sure if that's how it works, though. Can you make it make sense?
I can give the corporative vision, if you want, and then Kirill can give to you the IT vision, because I think it's going to be more or less good. Because as a
be like a bad cop and a good cop or something like that.
Yeah, it could be something like that, But okay. So as a corporative vision, the idea is next. Hashicorp create a product. It's true that there is a lot of people working in these repos, let's say, for free, because we need to introduce the money as a key piece here in all this puzzle. And it's true that there are a lot of people working for free, but it's true that all this coordination and all this hard work and all these timelines and everything is because Hashicorp add money in this project. So then, Terraform right now is a worldwide standard, and it's used everywhere. And it is one of the standards, like, for example, you are talking about Kubernetes, but the difference is that behind Terraform, there is a company. And this company is Hashicorp, that is in the stock market, that every 3 months, they need to prove that they are doing well. And even if you check the stock, they are losing money every quarter. So it's not a company that they are making money. But okay, if you compare with, for example, we're checking with Uber just started with Kirin. They are losing almost 31 or 33 billions since they started. So they never made money. They are losing and losing and losing and losing and losing money. And this company is not at this level. It's only, they make more or less 200-300 millions per quarter. So more or less they can end in a very good year, not yet, but in 1 billion of revenue. And the profit is zero, is negative. So then, as a company, they have a problem that there are another toolings that they are using what they think that they belong to them. So, and then they change to the different license, that is a business license. That means that, okay, if you want to use my code because you want to use my code for your own benefit, because you want to make money for that, we have examples like, I cannot tell how much code of, imagine, Pulumi, we have today inside Pulumi that belongs to Terraform. So I cannot tell you today because at the beginning it was like that, but okay, today Pulumi, I don't know if they change everything and Pulumi is only Pulumi. But they are seeing that there are many companies that are making money of that. And they're making money because of Terraform and everything that is around Terraform. So they decided as a company, we are a company that we need to make profit. And in case that you, whatever company X, you want to make money of that, so then you need to pay to me because it's a license to pay to me. Now, if you are a developer, of course that you can, if you want to make something open and it's going to be free, you're free to use that. So as a business model, the problem is if you're working with open source products and everyone is working there, and then now you change the rules and you say, no, okay, now that is working, nobody can play with this toy because it's my toy. And now it's only going to be a toy for, for the people who pay. So it's complex, something that we can discuss, but it's not something like A or B. But we need to remember that this is a company, but we need to remember that hundreds of people from this company are helping to make these products how it is today.
Okay, were you a good cop or a bad cop?
I don't know. I can see the corporation side, because at the end it's how it is. I need to make money. You need to check only the quarters. And you see those numbers, you see that they're not making money. They're losing money.
But if there's the only options to start making money and make your company offering is just to drop a paywall on everything, this new rule, it's introduced a term like a competitive offering. And I even read what this means from the FAQ. A competitive offering implies a product or a service provided to users or customers outside of your organization that has significant overlap with the capabilities of Hashicorp's commercial products or services. And this could be anything, right? And to me, this sounds like they are like putting a no trespassing sign without defining the property lines. It's almost like they're trying to stop everyone from using their product in business altogether, but at the same time, they are letting everyone in. And to me, this sounds like a trap.
Yeah, but it's a strategy, Leo. There is a CEO who decide and a committee who decide this strategy. They think that this is going to make for them a strong company, and they're going to grow more and more with this idea. Because even if you remember 2 years ago, they changed the license model, even to have, because it was for free before, and now there is another license model, seems 2 or 3 years, I don't remember, that you need to pay for this top level of the license with support and all these kind of things. It's a way that they're getting to make more money. This is the idea. Because Hashicorp, we need to remember that it's not only one product, it's a big number of products.
Most of which they kind of in a limbo mode because except Terraform, none of them are actively developed. Mm-hmm. I think it's a sign for me that HashiCorp is stopped being the technology company and they just became driven by non-IT people, which is sad because HashiCorp was one of these companies that was created by 2 developers. They were pushing a lot for open source. They were having this great model that They have this open source products, and they have some consulting and paid offering on top. And I think now they just, if you look, I was just checking, if you're thinking where I was like last 5 minutes, I was checking contributors to Terraform repository, almost 2,000 contributors over 10 years. Well, like, there are some contributors, and that's only in the Terraform GitHub repository itself. There are also contributions to different Terraform providers. I have maybe not like 10 or 12 PRs to different Terraform providers over the last 10 years. So first, I think it's like, it's not something that Hashicorp developed at this point. They developed initial version. There was maybe like initial Hashicorp team developing Terraform, but then over the last 10 years, you cannot now say that Hashicorp developed Terraform. They maybe defined some core features of Terraform, but if you look, for example, at some of the popular Terraform providers, they're not offered by Hashicorp, or they developed together with, like AWS provider is probably developed together with AWS and whatever 100 or more other people. Terraform core is developed, as I said, like by almost 2,000 people by now. If you just look through the list of top contributors, for sure the top 6, top 7 are the core people working for Hashicorp. Number 1 is one of the co-founders, because for sure first 2-3 years he was just like pushing lots of code. But still, I think it's slightly unfair to open source community. For sure, it's a company. But on the other side, it's a company that says, okay, now for 10 years, you guys have been developing something for us, and now we restrict who can commercialize on it. And they restrict it because I think they just failed to make a company out of these open source products. Because if you see Terraform Cloud, is maybe there's like HashiCorp Vault and Terraform Cloud are the biggest, like the most famous paid offerings from HashiCorp, and none of them are really successful. So Terraform Cloud could be this defining, like we chatted in Slack the other day, that Terraform Cloud is not good, basically. It's not the tool that you see lots of companies use. It's not a really good software as a service for infrastructure as code automation. It's okay. It's like 5 out of 10 experience. Like there is no, as an obvious technology examples, they didn't have till this year OIDC support for Terraform Cloud, which means that there was no really secure way to connect from Terraform Cloud to Amazon to manage infrastructure. And now I think they're like, okay, there are these companies like N0, whatever, GrantWorks, whatever, like lots of companies that just use Terraform as the foundation and offer something better. Probably Pulumi is one of them. It's a bit confusing which companies they consider their main competitors, because with Elasticsearch it was kind of clear. And if you remember, we discussed maybe like 10 episodes ago that Elasticsearch went through the similar transitions, that they saw that Amazon basically takes market from them by using their open source tool and then just change the license. With HashiCorp, for me, it's strange because I don't know any big companies that use HashiCorp open source stack to offer something paid on top. Like nothing comes. Like I just mentioned one N0, but it's really more like, I don't know, like CI/CD tool that lets you use Terraform, but there's nothing huge. So for me, it's confusing. And if you look at the number of employees of HashiCorp, I was checking 2,500 people.
Oh my God.
Was something like a shocker. I was shocked last year when I saw it's almost 2K. I'm even more shocked now because it's 2,000 people. Because for me, it's always the same question: what are these people doing? Because if you look at the changes in Terraform itself, and there are other products for this, like Packer, there is the console. You see that it's definitely not 2,500 engineers working on these open source products. It's maybe 100 engineers plus thousands of open source contributors from other companies. And the rest must be sales, marketing, consultants that they send to the customers, and not, I don't know, someone who is doing the product work. And yeah, I think like they're trying to transition to being a product company since a while. But for me, it's a sign that they are kind of failing on this journey. And they're failing in a very bad way, because changing these licenses, it will just... it will be a bad PR for them, because like everyone is unhappy now. If you read the response to this license change, no one is happy about it. So it's a big reputational damage for them.
But it's, to me, I'm sorry to summarize what Kirill said. It's basically like HashiCorp currently they like having a lemonade stand, right? But they are not charging for the lemonade for a lot of for several years now, and now they are trying to figure out a way how to charge for cups or something, or for the more efficient way to deliver this lemonade to your cup, or make it to charge for straws or something like that. While there are a number of companies who already figured that, and they sell cups, more convenient, more comfortable to use cups to consume HashiCorp's lemonade. To me, this sounds like something like that.
For me, the most crazy part really is that I am not aware of those companies that were doing this.
I've made a small research, and there is a tool there are not so many companies who use or capitalize on Terraform tool, but there is a tool called Vault from HashiCorp, and there are a number of companies who who offers the same service based on HashiCorp's Vault, and they offer some additional services, some additional tools based on that. And I think that what HashiCorp decided is to build, as you said, their own product, a better version of product, or not to build a better version of the product, but restrict other companies from making money on a better version of their product. Something like that. And this even worse to me, because for example, some company has a freelancer that sets up and maintains Vault for their infrastructure through Terraform, for example, right? And because their definition of competitive offering includes service providing, like now this person who provides these services officially, like they will be considered a competitor to HashiCorp, because HashiCorp offers paid services in the same area. And to me, this is kind of crazy.
I think they explain this part really strangely, because if you read this FAQ that they published, it mentions this consulting part. So let's say MKDev can still help companies to use Terraform, and this is like it will not violate the license according to this change and according to what they wrote. But if you would create some, as they say, central offering based on Terraform, and we give it to our customers, then it violates the license. And now it's like, I don't know, if we create Terraform modules and we sell them, but is it considered to be violating the license? Because I don't know, it's one of the features of Terraform, but it's also some kind of our code on top of Terraform, and hard to say.
Yeah, but you need to think at the end. Is what you mean. This is a very good example. This thing with the modules and the idea of if you take Google, they create a lot of models. AWS create a lot of models, and they are not going to charge on top of those for sure, because it's like you're my friend. So let's say in this way. So I allowed you to do that because we have an agreement, or maybe I'm going to pay 5% less or 10% less of what I have to pay every month in my invoice, because it's a cross agreement with the license. But the problem is that what happens if you are making money, because you need to see the vision of a CEO, of the accountant people, because they see the numbers every month. Because they said, I was checking now, that they are going to make in the next 12 months almost 600 millions, and last quarter they made 135. So they need to increase a lot. They even increased in the last 12 months 41%, but they need to go more and more because it's a company in the stock market at the end. So now he said, okay, you are using my models and you're making money with my models, pay to me. You're using that, pay to me. You want to do that, pay to me. Because the problem is that Terraform is a standard, and everything is with Terraform. Today, there is nothing that is not with Terraform, and it's going to take time to have something that is not Terraform based. And time is minimum 2-3 years. So, but the problem is to go to this level of a standard. And during this time, they know that they are the winner, and they want to use this, this time to make money. But at the end, the problem is that everyone who was working behind is the people who is not happy. All these 2,000 people that you were telling, Kirill, that are helping in the pull request, is the people that isn't happy because says, okay, I am not working for Hashicorp because they want to get a 6-figure salary. So, I'm working because I trust in this product and I want to make this big. So it's not because I want you to buy a Tesla. So, and this is the difference, because it's when you see that this open source thing is making rich, not to the one who is working, it's making rich to the one who create the project, and it's the one with the license and the authority, because at the end, there is an owner of Terraform code, and the owner of Terraform code is Hashicorp. It's not Peter Parker that is writing code, or maybe 5% of the code is because when he writes the code, he's giving the ownership to Hashicorp. And this is a problem. So it's something to, that I had to mind that the community is not going to be happy thinking on that.
I think it's like for people who contributed, it's not because they will not make money from this, because I think originally they contribute not for the money. It's more that they contribute the code to Terraform because of the idea of open source, which is beautiful, because like we all basically use open source all the time. And then the company behind Terraform is telling like, yeah, but now we want to make more money out of it. So it kind of just goes against the whole idea. And that's why even now Hashicorp is not allowed to call Terraform open source. That's like, because they will violate the rules for open source. They have to call it community edition. Because if you have this kind of license they enforce now, like that's not open source.
Yeah,
it does not fall under the category of open source. But I think there will be no reason to find another standard, because every version of Terraform or all of the other tools, and like we're talking about Terraform because I think that's the most popular one. Because like Nomad, for example, is used, but it's quite niche compared to Kubernetes. And Packer also is really used since we moved to container images, right? Console on-premise probably is the king, but again, inside Kubernetes, there is no way, like there is no reason to run console. Even we tried console service version, it was like, yeah, okay, quite a number of specific use cases, but it makes no sense to use it for most of the companies. But what's going to happen is that Terraform or other tools, so version 1.5.4 of Terraform is still the old license, this open source that anyone can use. And it means that whoever in the internet can just make a fork of this version and keep using Terraform. And that's what happened with MySQL. It just someone forked it, and now it's named like MariaDB, and just continue developing under the new name. But in the end, it's the same database, but now with more features on top. And that's probably, it could happen with Terraform as well. Depends on the reaction from the community. There is no way we will all now switch from Terraform to CloudFormation and Ansible, because Terraform 1.5.4 is still there. We can all use it. Anyone can fork it. Imagine if AWS does it, because that's what happened with the Elasticsearch, right? Because Elasticsearch was like, we changed the license. Now we, like, if you want to sell Elasticsearch, we will charge you money. And Amazon was like, fine, we just fork previous version with the old license. We now name it OpenSearch, and we also add all the features you charge for free in this OpenSearch distribution.
But this can be done for 2 companies or 3 companies in the world can do that. So you cannot do that if you're not AWS, okay, Amazon or Google or Microsoft.
Yeah, but for something like OpenSearch, probably not. But for something like Terraform, because in the end, it's super popular, but it's not a database. It's not Kubernetes. It's a CLI tool with a very maybe 25, 30 features inside it. So you can easily fork it and just keep maintaining it. If you find enough people from open source community to gather around it and maintain, I don't see why it would be not possible to have such a fork. Because it happened many times in the past.
Because if you do that, I think that because this is again an agreement between companies. So, and if you do that, and you try to do that, I don't know what could happen, because Hashicorp is in the stock market.
But they cannot go against the law.
Yes, but I don't know how can that affect to the company who made that. So no, I know that the license is the same. So it's a license that is open, that you can do that. But because you can go to trade, because at the end there are many information and secret that you can say, okay, even the trademark, the name, I don't know if it's so simple.
I'm talking about the previous, because Terraform 155 is under the new license.
Yes.
Like that's already, let's say it's lost, it's gone. Terraform 154 is under old license that allows anything. So if you're a company if you're a company that builds a product on top of Terraform, you can keep using 154 without any issues. You will not have to pay Hashicorp anything. If you're Pablo, you can go now to GitHub, pick 154 version, click fork, and write as much code as you want on top of it, and you can resell, do anything. And then you name it like Pablo form, and that's it.
Yeah. And you can continue building on this 1.4 version, and then create a new version out of it and call it not 1.5 or 1.6, but instead you can create it Pablo form 1.0 and release it as a new product.
But think, you're a company. What do you want to have? Because Hashicorp make money because of the support. 80% of the money is coming because of the support. And you are a company. 2 people, you don't care. You can use Hashicorp or non-Hashicorp version of Terraform. You're a huge company. You're a bank. Because we need to think that Hashicorp has more or less 5,000 customers, 2 million. So you're a company. What do you prefer to have? Hashicorp version with the support of Hashicorp, that this is really what you want to have, and this is the reason because you want to pay to Hashicorp? Or you want to have this open version, not even supported anymore by Hashicorp at all, and that is supported by an unknown person with a nickname behind? So if you're a bank, you want to go to Hashicorp for sure.
But it's not about one person, because in the end you have, in case of Terraform, you have 2,000 people who already contributed, and you have, again, big tech companies who will be like, okay, we don't want to be dependent on Hashicorp now in these conditions.
But if you play this game always, one day they're going to make the game to Google in the same game. They're going to make the same game to AWS. Because at the end, Google does that, or Amazon or whatever, because they want to make more money. So at the end, it's the same game. It's because I don't want to pay you, I want to get that for free. It's the same thing with Elasticsearch.
Yeah, but as long as the open source part wins, because yes, now the Amazon makes money from open source, but in the end, everyone got access to open source with all the features, and everyone can use it, and everyone can build on top of it. For
sure that this is true. But at the end, the point is that as a company, you don't want to go to an open source supported by nicknames. You want to have 5 guys in your company, you want to pay 2 million to the company, and you want to have a real support with real people. So because you cannot talk with the 2,000 people who made...
but you always do this.
Hashicorp. Sorry, to make...
Every company does it at huge scale. If you look at every Java application, you look the libraries used in the Java application, there are libraries who are developed by one guy without any commits in 2 years. That's standard. That's the nature of open source.
But imagine in the case of Hashicorp, and you need to have support because you need to have 3 guys, and you are willing to pay 2 million.
But
what do you want to do?
I think in case of Hashicorp is the worst, because as you said, they have 5,000 customers. So I personally still did not work with a single customer, including banks and insurances, that pays Hashicorp for consultancy, because Hashicorp is just not so big right now.
I know.
So if Hashicorp behaves this way and tomorrow I get a customer, well, I will just recommend whatever is the best tool for the customer, and not because there is a Terraform version that they can get paid by Hashicorp for. They're just not that big with this enterprise consulting right now.
I like this banter between you two. But I think...
No, but this is what I mean. It's the two mentalities, and this is what I was telling at the beginning, that is the market company mentality and the IT mentality.
Look what happened with the CentOS. Like CentOS was one of the 2 most popular operating systems that was free, and everyone was using it if you don't have money for the Red Hat license. And Red Hat just did some really strange changes to CentOS, and then just CentOS is now more or less dead. But someone just forked it, and now people use these forks, like Rocky Linux and some other forks, and whatever. If you don't want to pay Red Hat for the license, you just use this one.
Exactly. But the one with all the Red Hat developers is a paid version. And the problem with the forks is that the fork are going like that, time by time, at the end, or you try to copy everything that the people from Red Hat are doing, or at the end, in 3 years, this fork that is not Red Hat,
Yes.
not in every case, but 95% of the cases will die because the one with all the information is coming from Red Hat because the company has the knowledge.
I think banks is a perfect example, and it's one of the 3 examples in this world where it even matters. If you look at any startup, any tech company, they are not paying for Red Hat support. Come on, like I cannot imagine that some of our customers, that are like 1,000 people, they're not paying for Linux server support. They pick whatever the best open source tool. If they can get support somewhere is good, but no one cares about Red Hat license.
But sorry for that, because Red Hat did not create Linux. This is different. So not at all.
Yes.
So it's a different.
Yeah, but they have their own version of Linux that works and supported by Red Hat.
Yes, but you have Ubuntu, you have 20,000 millions of version of Linux, and they did not create Linux. So this is one of the companies that appear in the scope, like many others at the time. But okay, let's say that economically they were the winners. Okay, now it's IBM, but okay, they were the winners in the environment of the companies who had a release of Red Hat. But Red Hat is not the creator. They are not, even kernel is not made at Red Hat. They made many things, but I think that this is, in my opinion, I think that this is different, that we cannot think in the same way.
But you can say that Hashicorp at this point didn't make Terraform because they also don't owe Terraform till 1.5.4. Because now the license just allows anyone to use it, like you can use Linux.
Yes, but what I mean is that the case is different because Hashicorp created Terraform and they gave Terraform to the society. Red Hat did not create Linux. There was Linux and they said, okay, we're going to make a new version and we're going to call Red Hat. So it's completely different. So it's okay. There was something open source there that you don't own the code, because imagine while Hashicorp was not using this license, the BLB license, I cannot go there and says, okay, now it's mine. So I am the owner of the license. So I am the owner of the name of Terraform and everything is mine. It's different. Because they can get everything from Terraform because Hashicorp is the owner of everything of Terraform. So they register everything and everything belongs to them. It's not the same case with Linux. And it's true that is different. But at the end, I think that what Red Hat has been doing always is playing in these 2 games. No, is okay, Red Hat is here, but then I give you CentOS or I give you other different version because Fedora. They are creating and destroying different versions of Linux because they feel bad, because they want to give something like, okay, this is the private version, you need to pay for that, but I'm going to make to you this public one, so open source version, but this one, and then I am not going to work in this one anymore. It's the same thing with CoreOS. No, now we have Core, but not now. They are always doing that.
But they're doing it really good because actually, for me, Hashicorp was the Generation Z Red Hat, because till this moment they were the same. They had lots of free open source, like real open source, like Red Hat is doing, because Red Hat is doing I think no one is doing as many open source projects as Red Hat. It's just insane. And Hashicorp was kind of like this because they did these big tools, they had lots of libraries, and they had some paid stuff. They had like this Sentinel, which is like, it's not an open source product, it's something that you need an extra license to use. Mm-hmm. But now what they do is basically, as Red Hat would say, yes, that Linux is theirs, or whatever is theirs, that they just take all the open source projects and now, no, you cannot build on top of this. But I think, and even in case of Red Hat, Fedora is a great example, because Fedora technologically is always like 3 years ahead of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Because you have Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which is for the banks or whoever enjoys being enterprisey, and they have Fedora, which has really new technologies. So you just see what Fedora is capable of doing, that it has the newest, much faster, better package manager, which Red Hat Linux gets only in 2 years. Like something like this YAM to DNF transition, for example. Or systemd was first in Fedora, and then many years later it appeared in Red Hat Linux. And I'm not sure how it's going to be now with Hashicorp, like what happens with Community Edition, but I don't think that they will do the same, that Community Edition is way ahead of Enterprise version.
No, I think in this case, no, because, for example, with Google, I was talking with Google people who was working creating components, at the same time that I was working and talking with people from Pulumi, and the people from Hashicorp was really inside Google offices, and they're working the Google offices, and the people from Pulumi, they wanted to do the same, but they are not allowed. I talking about 1 year ago, something like that. They were not yet allowed in California to be at the same level as the Terraform people, but Hashicorp people is working inside Google offices because Google wants to. I know about Google, no idea. I had to mention that this is in all other cloud providers, but they want to be there. Google people, they want Hashicorp people to be there because they want that as soon as there is something new, you are able to deploy that. Even there are cases that it was possible to deploy themes with Google, with Terraform, rather than with any other way. So, because they want to be at beginnings, they need to do that automatically. As soon as there is a new component in Google, they are able to deploy with Terraform. And this is the thing, and this is the reason because they are always the winner. So I don't think that there will be two versions. The one for the non-paid, who is slow, because it's in the other way around. So here, you need to have the ability to create whatever component as soon as one of the 2,000 million of components appear in Google, AWS, or Azure, or whatever the cloud provider. Because it needs to be that. It needs to be quick. There is no other way.
But there are already things that are only available in the paid Terraform version. Like, again, the Sentinel policies integration, you cannot use it with Terraform without extra license. And I'm just afraid that there will be more and more things like this. Like, remember, we used to have Mattermost, which is the open source edition of Slack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Once you need to have any useful feature for the company, like SSO, whatever, pay. There's like a paid license. So there is always the community edition is always like this crippled little thing that is just not capable of doing anything decent. And I think even the license kind of restricts people to just fork it and write some extra plugins. So it's a very enclosed ecosystem with the Mattermost. Like if you Google, because lots of people use Mattermost. It's not as popular as Slack, but there are lots of people who use it. And still it's crazy for me that there is no open source plugin for Mattermost that gives you SSO for free. And I have to mention that the reason that it's just the license that doesn't allow it. You cannot do it with Mattermost. And I'm afraid that the same will happen with Terraform. And I think AWS or like people at CloudFormation team are laughing now because everyone was like, why Amazon just does this CloudFormation thing that wants to destroy a database randomly? They should just like integrate Terraform or whatever. No, now you see why. They have actually very powerful infrastructure. It's still shitty, but very powerful infrastructure is called Tool, native to AWS, with zero dependencies on Hashicorp. And even they extend it now to support like a third-party resource. So I think you can now manage, for example, Datadog resources with CloudFormation. And CloudFormation is extremely hugely popular.
Yes, but CloudFormation, at the same way as Cloud Build and all these other languages that the cloud provider created to be able to deploy their own infra, it's something super crazy, the idea that how is possible that Terraform was the most used when the own company is able to create their own language, but the people doesn't want to use that because Terraform is working better. So, and even faster, because it's not one case. There are plenty of cases, as I was telling before, that you have something already working in Terraform, but Cloud Build or CloudFormation is not there. So it's not able to deploy this new component, but the people from Hashicorp, they did it. So, and you say, how? But you are in the same place.
I think CloudFormation is horrible still. Like it gets better and better, but it's still horrible. But the difference is that it is actually extremely popular and widely used. So it's, I would say maybe not on the same level as Terraform, but it's crazy popular. It's used all over the place.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, and automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go, generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.
Because if you look at Google is like, yeah, like, fuck it, we'll just partner with HashiCorp. Because Google right now, they recommend Terraform, right? They have the tools to generate Terraform code. It's Terraform, like,
Exactly.
to the point that maybe even whatever Google acquires HashiCorp at some point. But Amazon, they were like, no, they have their own thing because they're Amazon, and then it works. Yes, it has some quirks in CloudFormation, but on the other side, it gets support for new Amazon services way faster than Terraform, like sometimes 2 months faster. So, for example, there's this event bridge pipes released in November. CloudFormation support, November. Terraform support, I think it was in July. So it's like 6 months for this particular feature to get infrastructure as code support.
But this is maybe because Amazon doesn't want to offer to them the correct APIs to...
No, API isn't the same because it's AWS. All APIs are released the same day.
What I mean is that...
It's just there was no one to deploy it,
to
create the code.
Of course, but if it's working in 1 second in Google and it's not working in 1 second in Amazon, it's because Amazon prefer the people to use CloudFormation rather than Terraform. It's another company strategy. That's it's only that.
But it's also because the support for this AWS service on Terraform is done by some guy who is not working for HashiCorp, who works his nights and weekends to add support in AWS provider for Terraform.
Okay.
So, and here is for sure AWS has an advantage with the CloudFormation.
But this is the problem with the open source, for example, in this case.
It is a problem, but now the problem is that this guy who was developing event bridge pipes, he sees like, oh, now HashiCorp will actually put a paywall on top of what he did, more or less. Because AWS provider is coming from HashiCorp as well. It's not the open source provider. It's like one of these official providers.
I kind of feel left behind here. But while listening to you two, I'm more and more convinced that HashiCorp kind of made a mistake, but not because they decided to do what they did, but because they decided to be a good guys, to remain a good guys here. Like they still trying to cater towards open source community and whoever the companies who uses their free services and free products. And I think that's a mistake. And they should have turned a classical movie villain overnight instead and turn into Evil Corp and just put a paywall on Terraform altogether. Like starting from 1.155 version, if you use Terraform one way or another, you pay. And just introduce the payment model, billing plans, and whatnot, and start making money from the very products they developed years ago. And that would be like, from my side, from my perspective, the best solution, because we're already discussing forking, we're already discussing alternative solutions. Like we already have the community that are looking for potential workarounds, for potential replacements. And we still have this community version of Terraform that will be developed by the community, and they already feel like they are not following the open source spirit because that's not open source and there's something else, and that's just basically just a free labor to develop a tool for the company that charges money because why not? So, and I think that was a mistake. And if they just introduce the paid version of Terraform, and like I don't know, like Red Hat did, like they're doing with their own Linux version, or like Oracle, like they all have their paid services for the main product. And I think that Terraform should have made this and turn itself into a product company entirely.
And it does. Certainly, like that's the thing is there is a Terraform Enterprise, there is a Terraform Cloud, which is software as a service. All of this is already there before this change. There is a paid version of Terraform that companies can use, and now there is this license change, which basically get just summed up from my side. I think
No, from what my understanding, they are not licensing the Terraform use. They are licensing. They're trying to license if you are using Hashicorp tools to build something on top of that you charge money for,
Yeah.
and that's it.
there is a software as a service from HashiCorp, which with extra features in the interface. There's also Enterprise Terraform with extra features on top of regular Terraform, like Sentinel integration and stuff like this. And till this license change. I think what happened now is that HashiCorp failed to be a product company, and instead of focusing on building the better and better product and getting the market like this, they just said, no one can even compete now with us. So they just removed competition with this change, or presumably removed because whatever, like anyone can just fork and then still keep building their paid service. I think it's, for me, just a sign of weakness, managerial, whatever, entrepreneurship weakness from the HashiCorp, because, come on, like the focus should be on building the better products, on offering the better services and making more money this way, and not just telling, no, this is ours. Now you cannot use it anymore. After 10 years of saying the opposite.
But to be hard that every 3 months, so complicated. Because, for example, on Friday, a stock of Hashicorp went up almost 5%. And now in the pre-market is 1.5 almost up. Should be difficult for so that means that the investors are super happy with the idea. So this is the one of the point, because it should be hard to a company that every 3 months needs to show to the investors, we are growing. You need to have a strategy to show why you're going to grow in the next 12 months, what you're going to do. So get more customers, no, but you need to have something. And I think that this is the idea.
Yeah, but they need to have an understanding of the technology world and how it works. Because I know at least from now 2 or 3 customers that I work with, which are considering like, can we keep using Terraform? Because, or maybe pin Terraform version to 1.5.4. Because what do? Like, they don't want to pay HashiCorp. So maybe, yes, now the market goes up because most of the investors also have no idea about technology world. And now HashiCorp C-level is overtaken by people who have no idea about technology world. But maybe 1 year from now, HashiCorp goes down because 1/4 of the customers just migrated over or stopped paying.
But think something. If you're a company, imagine that in KDev, we need to have support from Hashicorp and we pay every year 1 million. So for us, nothing changed. So we are going to pay because we have whatever number of customers that they need to have support from Hashicorp, and we pay to Hashicorp to have the direct support with them. So, and our million is going to be the same if they are in this open source license or in this business license, because for us it's the same. So I'm going to continue to pay to Hashicorp because they are giving to me the same support. They are the owners of the product. They know the product better than anyone. And there is no other difference, because in any of the cases before, I am working with one of the open source developers, with one whatever person with a nickname that I don't know who is him. So I'm working with a company because I am a company. I need to pay to a company 1 million every year to have support, and this is going to continue working like that. Nothing changed here.
For some of the existing, yes, but there are companies who, again, with Elasticsearch, companies who migrated to OpenSearch because they were like, we actually did not even want to pay that much for the license, and now there is a better free version. So we just stopped. Plus, it will be harder for other companies to decide for this enterprise offering if there is something better.
I don't know. If they start to get money from every company, like for example, Docker, or another company we talked recently about the same case. If you start to get money from companies to use Terraform, this is a different scenario. So they are not still in this step. So at this level, I think it's going to be a different scenario. Maybe they are preparing to go to this step because maybe they know the numbers of Docker and they saw the numbers of Docker, and at the end it's working because for Docker is working. This methodology is working. So because they were getting 0 and now they're getting millions. So maybe they are thinking to do this jump. But today, Today, they are not doing that. Today, the only thing that they're telling is that if there is another company X that they want to use the code that by law belongs to Hashicorp, you need to pay for that. But the relation with the customers is the same. So they pay the same that they were paying. They have the same agreements and the same thing. There is no difference of that.
But in the end, they need to offer something to their customers for this money because the contract is not infinite. It's like support contract for 3 years. What happens after 3 years? And then if the customer sees that, okay, at this point there is something better, why would I pay HashiCorp 1 million if I can pay 500,000 to someone else?
Yes, but you pay for support, Kirill. You don't pay for... Okay, the idea is next. I have a complex infra, or I have a number of customers. Like imagine, we in Kadev, we have a big number of customers, and we have a complex customers, and they need to have the real direct support because they need people to make a module for them, particular thing, a specific thing. And we want to be working directly with Hashicorp people. So then I'm going to continue paying to Hashicorp in whatever case, because at the end, even when they are open source, I was paying to Hashicorp, and now that they are not open source, I want to pay Hashicorp because it's the same problem for me. I want the people from Hashicorp be working with me to help all my customers. Imagine a company, like a huge company, like a mobile company that they have 300,000 components, and they need to have something with help of Hashicorp. If this is open source or not open source, they're going to continue pay. So I don't know the list of the 4,000 or 5,000 customers they have. What kind of customers are those? I know two that they're paid to Hashicorp. And the reason is that, because they need people from Hashicorp be inside the company, working with them, helping to create modules, and helping to do the integration of all the components of the company inside the infra. It's the same with open and open.
But Hashicorp is not working as DevOps engineers with the company. It's support.
Yeah, and if they start doing that automatically all the companies like us automatically are competing with Hashicorp in this area, and boom, we have to pay.
85% of the Incon is support. It's not licensed. And
but support is like Red Hat support. If you look at what Red Hat support looks like,
yes,
they are not coming to you and create a server for you. If your server breaks, if you have an error, they will help, but they're not doing the work for you. And same with Hashicorp. They will not come to you and write the whole Terraform code and automate it to work with the infrastructure. That's not what support means at this kind of contracts.
Yes, but it depends on the support that you want to have. In the two cases that I know, the Hashicorp is helping the people to do those modules, to be able to understand all the infra and to be able to apply all the infra and all the things. They are not there in case that when I apply Terraform there is a bug. This is not the idea with them. It's like you can have people from Red Hat that you're talking now directly with the customer, working with the customer, for sure. And I can talk about that if you want. And you have a lot of people.
But that's the consulting part, that's not the support part.
This is support.
There is a support contract and there is a consulting part when they send the person to work in your team. Different things.
Okay. You can call consulting, but at the end is in the three branches in the money that they get. They get from license something like a 20-30 million because of this new license that they made 2 or 3 years ago. And 95, I don't remember the number in the last quarter, is because of support. So companies who pay to them because they want to have support, consultancy, whatever thing they call support, in this package. And at the end, it is where they get the money today.
Okay, let's make a quick summary for those who are listening to us. Like, I have 2 questions. Simple answer, yes or no. For those companies who are using Terraform tools or other Hashicorp tools to maintain their services and their application that are not related to what Hashicorp produce, like they're producing some SaaS product for, I don't know, like in banana market. Is something changed for them?
That's something they need to figure out and how to proceed.
Yeah.
No, they do not produce any tools, any services that compete with HashiCorp.
Still, they need to figure out and proceed. It's the same. Every company is now checking the license, talking to lawyers, and figuring out how to proceed with Terraform. And if they did not pay HashiCorp before, I think it's super unlikely they will decide to pay now.
Okay, great. And for those DevOps...
But for example, and sorry, 1 second, in this link that you sent to us, Leo, EMV0, now they are telling that they don't know what they're going to do. Because at the end, they are talking with them because they have no idea what is going to happen, if they can continue working or they cannot. because env0 at the end is they're using the Terraform code with this the TerraTag project and all this kind of project they are using, and they need to wait. Nobody knows.
And imagine the env0 is they have the size of a company that allows them to fork and maintain the fork, because they have a lot of engineers, because they're actually building the product on top of this.
Yeah, but at the same time, NV0, they are producing services like infrastructure as code automation services. They are in some ways, they services are overlapping with Terraform. I was asking about SaaS products that do not overlap with cloud. Like they produce services in entirely different market, and they use Terraform for their own benefit. Like they end users. Nothing changes for them from my understanding. And V0, they are not end users of Terraform. They are using Terraform to create another service to resell basically Terraform services to some other end users.
So this is the part that is not allowed.
Yes.
And sorry, there are 44 employees at least in LinkedIn.
And with 44 people, instead of 2,500, they make 100 times better products than Terraform.
Good point, very good point. And for those DevOps engineers who just yes or no, who are working for other companies as consultants, is something changed for them? Yes or no?
It's the same. We need to figure out. Can we offer Terraform modules now to the customers?
Yeah,
it's unclear.
Okay, just a little bit more work. Okay, fine. I cannot say that I understand this even better. Probably Hashicorp should release another statement or another extended FAQ to cover all my questions that I have to them. But I hope that those who are listening to us learned something new from that. And if you have all the questions regarding Hashicorp, whatever, or anything, or you are just concerning, is something changed for you, send us a message, reply to our emails from MKDev Dispatch, and we will stay in touch with you and we will help you to figure out everything. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for joining us today. Kirill and Pablo, thank you for talking to me. Have a great day. Bye.
Ciao.
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.